At a packed concert in Mexico, a singer is handed a note. He reads it. His face changes. Not dramatically, not like in a movie. Just enough to know something is wrong. Still, he keeps singing. Hours later, he is dead. And to this day, people still ask the same question. Did Chalino Sanchez know he was about to die? Chalino Sanchez didn't become a legend because he had a perfect voice. He became a legend because he sounded real, raw, wounded, dangerous. He sang corridos like confessions, like warnings, like unfinished prayers from people living too close to violence. But the most haunting corrido in his story was his own life. And it began far from the bright lights, far from the fame, in a small town in Sinaloa, where survival came first and innocence didn't last long. Chalino Sanchez was born Rosalino Sanchez Felix in 1960 in Culiacan's rural world, in the tiny settlement of Las Flechas. Poverty was not a phase there, it was the atmosphere. He grew up in a place shaped by hardship, revenge, silence, and pride. And those forces would mark him forever. His father died when Chalino was young. His family struggled badly. There wasn't much protection, and there wasn't much softness either. Then came the moment that changed everything. When Chalino was still a teenager, his sister was allegedly assaulted by a local man. What happened next became part of his legend. Some say Chalino waited, some say he hunted him down. But the story most people tell is simple and brutal. He killed the man responsible. Whether every detail is true or not, one thing is clear. After that, life could never go back. And that's where the first shadow begins. Because Chalino didn't just grow up around violence, he stepped into it. Soon he fled to the United States, like so many others, chasing survival, not dreams. Los Angeles was supposed to be a new beginning. Instead, it became another battlefield. He worked wherever he could, odd jobs, small hustles, constant pressure. He was undocumented, poor, and carrying a past that didn't stay buried. And then another tragedy struck. His brother Armando was killed in Tijuana. That loss broke something open inside him. Chalino didn't respond with silence. He responded with songs. He began writing corridos for friends, strangers, traffickers, workers, immigrants, men who wanted their names turned into myth. Not polished songs, not radio songs. Street songs. Songs sold from car trunks, swap meets, parties, and flea markets. At first, almost nobody outside that world cared. His voice was rough. Critics would later say he couldn't really sing. But that was exactly the point. He wasn't singing to impress elites. He was singing for people who recognized pain when they heard it. And slowly, that pain started making money. In the 1980s and early 1990s, Chalino became something new. A folk anti-hero. A voice for men living outside the law, and for families living with the consequences. His tapes spread through immigrant communities like secret currency. You heard him at backyard parties, at the mechanic shops, in beat-up trucks crossing long highways at night. His corridos didn't feel fictional. They felt dangerous because they were close to real names, real blood, real reputations. And that made him magnetic. But it also made him vulnerable. Because when you sing about power, real power listens. And not everyone wants their story told the same way. Still, Chalino kept rising. He performed in clubs packed with people who saw him as one of their own. No polished image, no industry makeover, no fake elegance. Cowboy hat, mustache, cold stare. He looked like a man who had survived things he would never fully explain. And audiences left him for it. Then came one of the most infamous moments in his life. In 1992, at a concert in Coachella, a drunk man rushed the stage and fired a gun. Panic exploded, the crowd screamed, and Chalino pulled out his own weapon. That moment did more than shock people. It confirmed the myth. He wasn't just singing corridos, he was living inside one. After that, his name became even bigger.
but so did the danger. Because fame didn't clean up his image, it darkened it. Every performance felt risky. Every lyric carried weight. Every rumor grew teeth. Was he protected? Was he connected? Was he simply fearless? Or already resigned to the ending? Then came May 15, 1992. Culiacan. A concert at Salon Bugambilias. That night would become immortal. Chalino was on stage, singing in front of a crowded room, when someone handed him a folded note. He opened it while performing, read it, paused, and tucked it away. The audience noticed the shift. Something in his eyes changed. Not panic. Something colder. Like recognition. He continued the show. Think about that. How many people could read what might be a death warning and keep singing? Was it courage? Shock? Or had he always known this was how his story would end? After the concert, Chalino left in a vehicle with people who identified themselves as police. That was the last time he was seen alive. The next day, his body was found by an irrigation canal. He had been shot, execution style. He was only 31 years old. And just like that, the man who sang about hunted men, betrayals, vengeance, and death became one more name in the same brutal tradition. No final explanation, no clear justice, only theories. Some believe the note on stage was a death threat. Others think the order had already been given before he ever arrived. Some say his songs offended the wrong people. Others say his past finally caught up with him. And maybe that's what keeps this story alive. Not just the murder, but the feeling that Chalino was trapped between myth and reality until the very end. Because who was he really? A grieving brother? A vengeful young man? A smuggler? A poet for outlaws? A symbol of Mexico's wounded border identity? Maybe all of them. What makes Chalino Sanchez unforgettable is not technical talent. It's that he represented something bigger than music. He represented raw truth, or at least the kind of truth people believe when official history feels empty. He gave a voice to people usually erased from respectable stories. Migrants, poor families, men with blood on their names, women surviving loss, communities shaped by fear. He sang without polish because his world had no polish. And decades later, that honesty still cuts through. His influence is everywhere now. In regional Mexican music, in corridos tumbados, in outlaw imagery. In every artist who understands that imperfection can feel more powerful than precision. But there's still one image people can't forget. Chalino on stage, a note in his hand. A shadow crossed his face. Then the song continues. Maybe that is why his legend refuses to die. Because in that moment he became more than a singer. He became a man staring into darkness and refusing to look away. So what really happened that night in Culiacan? Was Chalino silenced for what he knew? For what he sang? Or for who he had once been? Maybe we'll never know. But one thing is certain. Long after the gunshots faded, Chalino Sanchez kept singing through the stories people tell about him. And sometimes the most dangerous voice is the one that sounds like it has nothing left to lose.